you know,
So this
a
is an
new
original
universe.
black hole?
Huh?
An original black hole.
Yeah, that every time a black hole is created, then it is the creation of this. You know, everything that gets close to a black hole starts to go fast enough that it no longer exists as mass.
Okay.
You know, everything turns into a very weird form because things get up to the speed of light or close enough that everything goes weird.
So let me just get, we're
And
just jumping in here.
you get these things where there's this big disk, you know, stuff that's going in, and then there are these two beams of energy that are coming out at the poles of this disk. You know, like these are apparently observable. I don't know for sure that they're not just computer generated fantasies, but
Like they were saying about the dust that
yeah,
has a
right, yeah,
swirly pattern on
right.
it
But anyway, I've
that
seen
they
a lot
observed
of
with
these.
Bicep 2
Yeah, I've
telescope,
seen a lot of these images that
and then
look like
later
that.
you compared it with the
But
Planck
yeah, but
telescope.
it seems like you know, like in you know, like Hawking keeps on going on, you know, like about black holes, and so he has a lot more to say about it, you know,
Hawking
like
is
in
very
recent
fond
time.
of black holes.
Yeah, he's very fond of them, you know.
Huh.
And anyway, I'm not sure about the relationship of quasars to
Let's
these
not
things.
add him into the mix, because what I want to get into
Well,
these two guys, the one in Egypt and the one
well,
in
it's all got
Canada,
to fit together.
who are both, they are seemingly
Yeah,
independently saying the
cosmology,
same thing.
everything has to
Let's just
fit
throw
into
this into the mix. Is that
one
what
single
what
concept.
they said is they're
Yeah,
simplifying it, is to take care of all
they're
these
already
issues that arise out of the
yeah.
complex formula. They're
Well, it's
trying to
pretty
unify a
complicated.
theory, but
Yeah.
they're getting rid of the singularity
Uh-huh.
in the sense that they're going with an answer to the quantum gravitation issue first. What they're proposing is that there is a field of dark matter or dark energy pre-existent to a Big Bang, but their formula, their theory is not pointed at disproving a Big Bang per se, but they are getting rid of a singularity.
Mm-hmm.
So when they start off with a quantum gravitational question, which I think is a very valid uh, starting point, and to look at the evidence and say, well, look, we have some kind of a quantum fluid state or material which seems to perpetually exist. They want to call the substance or the particle gravitons,
Yeah.
even though it's not yet been proven. Their
Oh, yeah.
proposal,
Uh-huh.
and I mean it's the same thing with the Higgs boson. If you want to say that there's a graviton, and that the gravitons had always existed in this quantum gravitational, um, matrix, if you
Yeah,
will.
doesn't
Okay,
feel too
but
promising to me.
well, they're sticking with Einstein's theory of general relativity.
Yeah.
They are going on with a grasp of certain evidence that are there, and instead of saying that there's a singularity 13.8 billion years ago, where this within a fraction of a second we have to have this huge explosion and expansion into this space-time bubble that we're looking at now,
Right.
and that it continues to perpetuate itself for 13.8 years. There's some kind of singularity. They they don't necessarily require this to explain that the universe had existed for even before that, because along the same logical thinking that you can't get something from nothing.
The stuff that dreams are made of.
Now, what you said is, let's backtrack, and you were talking about a black hole situation which may have pre-existed if there was a singularity or a Big Bang event. Where in what state of field of existence was this black hole existing that you're talking about? This what did you
Well, the
call this
existence
disk?
of black holes, see, is that more credible? You know, like the theory is also based, you know, like in the idea of you know, Einstein and the whole idea that space can curve around itself and that there can be something that's existed, you know, like that the things fall into, but
Well,
nothing ever comes out.
it seems to be in the same lines of thinking of a quantum gravitational primal state, because you can't have a black hole without gravity.
Uh-huh.
It's a gravitational field,
Mm-hmm.
and what you're doing is having matter pulled into the direction of it through concentration to extreme density, to densities up to absolute,
Right.
you know, compacted, compressed, and it's kind of like the reverse of a Big Bang.
Yeah, the black hole, that's what I'm saying, is that the black hole is actually becomes the Big Bang of this universe, you see.
But what you're saying is very theoretical, because
And when it's
well,
not even
I don't
theoretical,
mind
it's
that.
just
It's a thought experiment.
hypothetical.
But do you
Yeah.
see any evidence
Yeah.
for where this might be located, or the remains of this?
Well, I don't actually see the evidence for the black hole, except, you know, like the arguments of these people that there must be black holes that you know, like that you know, galaxies are circling around.
So we
That they're
have
all
this guy,
falling into
the
this
work
hole.
of, let me just state the name of it so people can know that we're not just talking out of thin air. There's an Egyptian scientist. His name is Ahmed Farag Ali at Ben-Hur University, and then seems independently there is Surya Das at University of Lethbridge in Alberta, Canada. Okay, so
Okay, he's
they're
yeah.
here. They're co-authoring. So these guys, they have been working together. They're two physicists. So I want to compare this with the other article that we're reading in Quantum magazine, which is talking about the fact that how they're poking holes or criticizing the inflation version of the Big Bang.
Right. I'm trying to discriminate between the difference between inflation and expansion, if there is one.
There is definitely a difference. I couldn't explain to you what it is, but it's quite different terms. They are not interchangeable. They're in that one article in January 30th this year. Quantum magazine is attacking, or taking apart inflation based on the idea that they were looking at swirly patterns of dust, which could be also interpreted as gravitational wave patterns that they're seeing in their data from the telescope data.
Yeah,
And
my
they
Max
want to
Planck
say
Institute.
this is evidence for
well,
some kind of disproving of the inflation process of the universe.
Well, the Vedas say that that the Maya is Brahman's dream. You know what I mean? Like that.
Yeah, I'm aware of that.
That the illusion, like of the existence of anything, like material, or you know what I mean. So like the samsara of it all is, that it's a distraction from the being of, like, Brahman.
Well, nothing of our ideas are that original. If the Vedas have stated this many hundreds and thousands of years ago, we're still going over the same basic ideas and concepts. So what you said is like the cycles of the universe are like the day and the night.
Yeah,
one is Brahma.
these
Brahma
things,
is exhaling, and Brahma is inhaling.
Yeah.
And some of it's dreaming, some of it's being awake.
Right.
And these are huge amount of years that they try to measure, and
they
like,
put all these super names on them.
tens of thousands of years.
Yeah.
And the way they break it down, there's a yuga, and there's
Kali Yuga.
well, these are not. These were worked out to not be equal amount of space and time. The yugas were smaller and smaller until they get bigger and bigger. Each successive yuga is a different amount of time until they cycle back around. So it's basically like an elliptical time pattern. And then there's something called kalpa. And you have to calculate the difference of what a kalpa is.
I think that might be
and there's
this
a
might be a slightly
yuga.
different language.
Well,
like you got sutras,
no, they're
and you
different
got
measurements of time. It's
like
almost like we could bring up the Mayan calendar also.
You could.
Which is a long count and a short count, of way they mathematically
that's a number
calculate
system, basically.
But I don't want to just bring up the ancient theories. We know that
the reflection. The reflection is about the existence of any particle. The Greeks called something an atom if it couldn't be divided. So then, like the whole idea of the atom bomb is dividing an atom.
Yeah.
So they're cracking
Well,
something that's supposedly a unit.
and then they say you can't crack it any further, and then they got the Higgs boson particle, which
Well,
is said to be
right.
that's said to be proven at this point
Well, yeah. At this point,
in
that's the
time
language
with
of quantum mechanics. The
with
whole
the
thing is,
CERN
yeah.
was an
Einstein at one point
accelerator of
was
a particle,
said by others to
and
be dragged kicking and screaming toward quantum mechanics. He made the comment, "I do not believe that God plays dice with the world," but they say that there was some kind
right.
of
So he's
approach
not
on it.
arguing about randomness. There is no such thing as that. That everything is based on perfect order, whether we are able to see it or not. And when you look at smaller and smaller, you're able to see the patterns that actually exist in the fabric of the universe, if you will call it that. The fabric of the universe has a very specific design, and you could call it intelligent design. That's why Einstein was saying that God doesn't roll the dice.
Well,
Meaning,
like there are those
meaning that
yeah, Big
our
Bang is a creation theory.
and you
Right.
got to philosophically
Yeah.
analyze what is
Yeah.
the rolling of the dice. It means by chance. There's no such thing as chance. It is going to come out predictably, and you can bank on it.
Well, maybe.
There's no such thing as probability and statistics in the real universe.
Well,
in
you
reality.
observe cycles,
Einstein
and then
made this statement.
you attempt to make a profit out of it by predicting when it's going to happen again, so that you're ready.
In other
to
words,
grab
if I
your
knew
share,
if I knew enough about all the outside forces, and I was to take a dice, six-sided dice, and if I was before I was going to roll the dice, I should be able to know which side is going to come up.
Yeah.
There is no such thing for God as rolling it and saying to himself, gee, I wonder what side's going to come up. Let me just randomly see, because there's no way I can tell. God doesn't think like that. And after doing all this work that Einstein did, and also the same pittance of research that I've done, I can agree with him on this point, that God knows there's no sense in rolling the dice and thinking to myself, I'm going to be amused right now because I have no idea what's going to come out. He knows
there was a lot of
what's
excitement
going to
about
come out.
what they called chaos mathematics, and they had these things that were Julia sets and Mandelbrot sets, which were to generate patterns in a computer, which were very, very complex patterns, and they kind of had a flavor of, like what happens if you just spill a bunch of paint and watch it go, different colored paints, and
funny things
the
that
clear
people
light
do
of the
to
void.
amuse themselves. So I will throw it, and maybe the paint will go over here or over here, over. It's only because we choose not to use all of our computing ability to
You're
calculate.
saying because we don't see where the pachinko pins are, that are dividing all of this stuff?
It's because humans have a tendency to set up things to do a phenomenon like throwing dice or throwing paint.
There's some pretty cool things.
Then to say to themselves, gee, I had no idea where that was going to end up.
Hey,
it's not that way.
This is pretty specific. You could put a couple of pinholes, like in a sheet of metal, so it's real clean edges and stuff. And then you shine a light through them. You get these interference patterns. Then you get these arguments, like is the light particles or is the light waves? Because you see the interference
Oh, that's
pattern.
an easy one. That's an easy one.
You know what I'm saying?
That's an easy one.
But
I already told you that there's division between the physical and the spirit. And the spirit is not physical. There's a division between it, and that's the primary
this is where you can
duality
actually experience
of
with your own eyes,
philosophical thought.
this
Philosophical
argument about
analysis of the
photons,
universe.
photoelectric effect. Einstein got a patent on it, by the way. Photoelectric effect.
Well, I'm glad that he did before anyone else did.
Right. Somebody asked him what was the greatest invention of humankind. You know what he said? Compounded interest.
I think he was being facetious.
Yeah, I think so too.
Money is a curious thing.
Yeah, well.
But of course it doesn't exist. We just continually think.
I know,
it
we're
is.
just
All
continuing to
money,
make this shit up.
all money
See,
is
alright.
fiat,
Good.
and we must understand
Good.
the
Is this what
definition
we're
of
doing with the
fiat.
universe?
Is turning it into money?
No, are we just
Putting a value
are
on
we
it?
are we just think it exists?
Oh, the universe?
Yeah, right. Are we doing the same thing with this that we're doing with our financial system?
It's the same thing that
Our
Shakespeare
cosmological
said.
concepts?
To be or not to be.
Yeah.
If I exist to say the universe exists, then the universe exists.
This is the
If I
theory that
no
Jack
longer
built.
exist
That's it.
to say that the
Yeah.
universe exists, it's the same way of saying that
if a tree
if
falls
a tree
in the
falls in
forest,
the forest and no one's there to hear it, does it make a sound?
Now we're getting there.
That is see, it's like you know,
Yeah.
philosophically it's rhetorical. Don't try to make an answer for it. We already know what the answer is, but it's not explainable.
Yeah.
But the point
Right.
is that there's complete order. My question always goes back to the fact
or complete chaos.
that
Yeah.
if you look long and hard enough.
I shot some LSD one time. The guy said it was from Sandoz. I shot it into my vein, and I immediately saw complete chaos, and imposed over it, or
you could
in
just
it,
do that by waking
was
up one day.
order.
It's the same thing as an
there was
LSD.
there was this incredible
trip.
pattern, which referenced what was going on in the chaos.
Mm-hmm.
So like which one was observed
Hallucinations
and which
are very
one was created
amusing
by me.
also. But if you merely turn on a TV,
yeah,
without an antenna picking up a signal, and you look at the static pattern, this black and white movement, you will actually start to make some sense of it after a while if you stay long enough.
I failed to get.
You didn't see.
I can see faces in clouds, but I cannot see any shit at all in the electron beam. Like this, the phosphor on a CRT. I cannot.
But it's interesting
I've stared at them for hours trying to do that.
Simple native peoples that were living without any kind of technology or photography, when they're first shown a newspaper photographic image, they could not discern anything in it for a while because they could not focus. They only saw like the random pixelization of the ink.
Well,
and they didn't know what they were looking at
if your
first.
vision is good,
Either that or they were just screwing around. They knew exactly what they were seeing, but they were like not telling.
You would look at the thing and you would see the halftones. That's what you're going to see.
And it's very interesting. They do those optical illusion type of things where you look at the image and you're not sure what you're seeing at first because your focus is going in and out. And a lot of artists do this to kind of play games. But like I said,
just to jazz
all
up
this
the
stuff
nervous
is like
system
about amusing
teach
ourselves,
people about how
brain teasers and stuff. But when it really comes out, that kind of thing is juvenile. When you want true answers, you want to face the ultimate questions of the universe. Let's get real here. Do you think that there could be anything that's random out there? Do you think that from here to there seems to be space, and on this planet we have the conditions that we have, and life exists, and we're sitting here contemplating this, we're pondering and coming up with really our best serious analysis, or a statement of true reality.
one of the
do you think that it could be any other way?
One of
or
the higher
expressions came together like this
of a you might say a creationist level is of all of the different possible situations that could exist. We happen to live in one which favors life. That like it's easy to be too hot and it could be too cold. How can it be too, like it could be too wet or it could be too dry.
Voltaire said something interesting one time.
So
Voltaire
it's improbable. In other words,
the best of all possible universes.
Yeah, you would say that. Yeah,
he was a rationalist.
Best of all possible worlds. Well, yeah, those guys they were naturalists.
That's not optimism. I think they're just accepting reality.
Yeah.
I mean, he wrote about Voltaire. By the way, Voltaire was very friendly with Spinoza, I think. Or no, Voltaire had a good kind of like a secret connection with Isaac Asimov. I mean, not Isaac Asimov. Isaac Newton. I'm sorry.
Isaac Newton?
Yeah, Isaac Newton. Yeah.
That's interesting. I hadn't heard about that, but I can understand that whole era, like that, like the whole concept of the Enlightenment, like in the church, like with their conservative, attempting to maintain their dogma, like muddying the waters all the time.
Well, Newton's big struggle, or the one that he had to be careful of, was the authoritarian ignorance or dogma of the Church of England.
Yeah.
Which could take away. He had the keys. He had the keys to the treasury, and he had the keys to all the measurements of the currency. He was in charge of that. He was a custodian of that. Now, if he wanted to lose all of his honorable positions, he would only have to go out and state his real opinions on scientific cutting-edge theory. He wasn't able to come out and do that, but that's what he had discussed with Voltaire and a lot of
there's a
people.
collection of letters which would really be interesting to see between Swedenborg and Isaac Newton on the subject of spirituality and demon possession and things of that nature.
Well, demon possession, I think, has to do with anybody that can't really have a straight-up discussion about these things without going off on a tangent of some kind of nonsense that there's
been some things. You've said some things lately, and some other people have been saying them too that are clarifying that whole situation.
Let's bring them up point by point, but we've rambled on here.
It almost feels like that.
I'm willing to debate anyone at any time, man, woman, or child,
in the collective conscious,
in the good spirit of seeking truth, as we're doing. I do believe that there's conclusions to all these things. I don't believe in so many.
It does feel like that there's a big revolution going on in life. that things are going on all over.
I think a lot of the concepts.
Even these guys that you were talking about, like they are talking in terms of the media's analysis of what this business is going on in the Middle East. But when I listen to the tone of their voices, it's actually pretty high. These guys are shining the light on this stuff.
I don't know.
They're shining their own light on this stuff and discussing it with one another, and the tone of it is